The chamber was a spectacle, an ethereal glow illuminating the faces of countless alien delegates gathered for the conclave. I stepped into the grand room on Eldrith, heart racing, bracing myself against the weight of their stares. Each race, ancient and powerful, held secrets and legacies that spanned millennia, and here I was, a mere human, on the precipice of history. My team flanked me, Yarrick Nowak, my trusted second-in-command, with his usual furrowed brow, and Nayla Brzezinska, our ally from the Luminari, her luminescent skin casting a soft light that felt oddly comforting amidst the tension. "Zofia, are we really ready for this?" Yarrick leaned in, his voice a low whisper, his eyes darting around the chamber. "These beings have been forging alliances for centuries. We're just newcomers." "Newcomers with ambition," I replied, trying to instill confidence in him. "We have to show them that humanity can contribute to this galaxy, that we're worthy of a place among them." Nayla stepped forward, her voice smooth and melodic. "You must remember the strength of unity. We are not alone in this. Together, we can present a front that cannot be ignored." She glanced at the delegates, her gaze fierce. "Let them see that we are not just humans, but part of a larger coalition." As we positioned ourselves at the front, the air thickened with anticipation. My pulse quickened when the first delegate, a towering reptilian known as Vortax, rose to speak. His scales shimmered ominously under the chamber's glow. "The time has come for a new order," he declared, his voice resonating like thunder. "We must consolidate our power, dominate the galaxy, and eliminate the weak." A murmur rippled through the crowd, some delegates nodding in agreement while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I exchanged glances with Yarrick, who looked increasingly uneasy. "What are we going to do?" he muttered, anxiety lacing his words. "We need to respond," I insisted, my voice steady despite the chaos brewing within. "If we don't make our voices heard now, we might never get the chance again." As the debate ignited, fervor crackled in the air. I realized the stakes were higher than I had anticipated. We had to act quickly, to present our vision for a galaxy that thrived on unity rather than fear. I took a deep breath, preparing to step into the fray. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the galaxy itself, depended on our courage in this moment. The chamber hummed with a tense energy as I stood before the gathered delegates, my heart pounding in my chest. I could feel the weight of their gazes, each pair scrutinizing me like a predator sizing up its prey. I cleared my throat and began, "Esteemed delegates, we find ourselves at a critical juncture in our shared history. I propose we form a coalition, a united front that embraces our diversity rather than allowing it to divide us." As I spoke, the reaction was a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The Andari delegate leaned forward, his emerald scales glistening in the chamber's light. "What assurance do we have that this coalition would benefit us all, especially when some races have a history of seeking dominance?" His voice was low but firm. I met his gaze, feeling the urgency of the moment. "Strength lies in unity. Alone, we are vulnerable to manipulation and conquest. But together, we can create a new paradigm of cooperation. We must not allow the ambitions of a few to dictate our fates." A lone murmur rippled through the crowd, and I sensed a flicker of hope. Just as I began to feel a connection, a cloaked figure at the back of the chamber stirred. Silence enveloped the room as all eyes turned towards them. The delegate, hidden beneath layers of dark fabric, stepped forward, their voice smooth and unyielding. "The status quo has served us well. Change is a dangerous game, and those who advocate for it may find themselves on the losing side." The air grew heavy with tension as the cloaked figure's words hung like a shadow over my proposal. I could see Yarrick's jaw clench beside me, his unease palpable. "Zofia, we need to understand who this ally is. What do they stand to gain from maintaining the current order?" he whispered, urgency lacing his tone. Nayla, ever perceptive, nodded. "We must uncover the hidden agendas of everyone here. If we don't, we risk being outmaneuvered." As the debate escalated, I nodded in agreement with my team. "Let's meet in private and strategize. We need to expose any underhanded alliances before it's too late." I could feel the stakes rising, the weight of our mission pressing down on me. We slipped out of the chamber, my mind racing with the implications of what lay ahead. The fate of our people depended on our ability to navigate these treacherous waters and unmask the hidden players before they could strike. The air crackled with tension as Yarrick, Nayla, and I huddled in the dimly lit chamber beneath the conclave hall. My heart raced while Jarek's brow furrowed in concern. "Zofia, are you sure about this?" he asked, glancing nervously at the shadows that danced across the walls. "What if we're wrong?" I shook my head, trying to dispel the doubts that clung to us like the mist outside. "I'm not wrong, Yarrick. The Vortex and the Cloaked Delegate are working together. We need to expose them before they can strike." Nayla, her luminescent skin casting a soft glow in the dark, nodded in agreement. "The Luminari have long memories. If they conspire against you humans, it could mean your end." The plan was forming in my mind, each detail sharp and clear. "We'll gather evidence, the Vortex's proposal and the delegate's silence will be our leverage. We need to act now." "Let's move then," Yarrick urged, determination flickering in his eyes. "We need to get back to the conclave before they can make their move." As we ascended back to the grand chamber, I could feel the weight of countless eyes upon us, scrutinizing our every step. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. The moment we stepped into the hall, I noticed the Vortex speaking animatedly with the cloaked figure, their whispers sharp and conspiratorial. "Look," I whispered, nudging Yarrick. "They're in cahoots." He squinted, his voice low. "We need to get closer." We maneuvered through the crowd, careful not to draw attention. As we reached a vantage point behind a cluster of delegates, I felt my pulse quicken. "This is it," I murmured. "We present our evidence, and we'll expose them for the liars they are." When the moment felt right, I stepped forward, my voice steady yet filled with urgency. "Delegates! I have crucial information regarding a conspiracy that threatens not just humanity, but the integrity of the conclave itself." A murmur swept through the assembly, eyes widening in surprise. The Vortex turned, his reptilian eyes narrowing, while the cloaked delegate shifted uncomfortably, the air thick with tension. "What are you insinuating, human?" the Vortex hissed, his voice dripping with disdain. "I'm saying," I continued, emboldened by the reactions around me, "that you and your shadowy ally have plotted against us. We have evidence." The chamber erupted in chaos. Accusations flew, and the atmosphere grew electric, charged with outrage and disbelief. "You dare accuse us?" the cloaked delegate finally spoke, their voice smooth yet menacing. "Silence!" roared a figure from the back, an elder delegate whose presence commanded respect. "Let the human speak!" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. Together, we can forge a new path, one of unity instead of division. But we must confront those who seek to manipulate us. Just as I believe we had the upper hand, the elder delegate's voice cut through the chaos, shifting the focus. "Peace is what we need, not division. Remember our history." The room fell silent, the elder's words resonating deeply. I felt the ground beneath me shift as the tide of the conclave began to turn, the focus moving away from our fight against conspiracy to the age-old struggle for peace. My stomach twisted with frustration, knowing that the humans' influence was slipping away, at least for now. The conclave had shattered into factions, each group fervently defending its interests. I found myself pacing the edges of the chamber, anxiety twisting my stomach like a living thing. "We need allies, and we need them fast," I muttered to Yarrick, who stood nearby, his brow furrowed in thought. "Do you think the Andari will back us?" he replied, glancing toward a cluster of delegates whose vibrant colors shimmered in the dim light of the chamber. "They seem interested, but I can't shake the feeling they're waiting to see which way the wind blows." Nayla, with her ethereal presence, stepped closer. "What if I told you that my people, the Luminari, have a connection to an ancient artifact? It could shift the balance of power dramatically in our favor." Her voice was soft yet filled with an urgency that made my heart race. "What kind of artifact?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "It's a relic from a time long before any of us could remember, a device capable of great destruction or salvation. If we can locate it before the Vortex do, we might stand a chance," she explained, her eyes gleaming with resolve. "Then we don't have a moment to lose," I exclaimed, determination flooding my veins. "Where is this temple?" "It lies deep in the ruins of Thaler, a place that is as treacherous as it is sacred," Nayla warned. "We will face traps and puzzles designed to protect it from those deemed unworthy." "We'll go together," I said, glancing at Yarek, who nodded in agreement. "We can't let the vortex have it." As we prepared to leave, Nayla paused, her expression grave. "Remember, the artifact's true purpose is not merely to grant power. It has the ability to erase entire civilizations. We must wield it wisely." I felt a chill run down my spine at her words. "Let's just focus on retrieving it first. We can worry about the consequences later." With that, we set out, hearts pounding and minds racing, aware that the fate of our people hung in the balance. The journey through the ruins was fraught with peril. Crumbling walls loomed over us, and shadows danced in the corners of my vision. "Stay alert," I whispered, scanning the darkened paths. "We don't know what traps may lie ahead." Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the temple, and a section of the ground gave way beneath us. "Run!" Yarek shouted, pulling me back just in time. We barely avoided the gaping chasm opening up before our feet. "Did you see that?" I gasped, breathless. "We're not alone here." "Of course, the temple is protected," Nayla replied. "We must work as a team to overcome its defenses. Together, we can solve the puzzles that lie ahead." As we navigated deeper into the temple, the air thickened with tension. Each step felt like a countdown, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were racing against more than just time. I could almost hear the vortex closing in on us, their cold ambition driving them forward. When we reached the inner sanctum, ancient inscriptions covered the walls, glowing faintly. "This must be it," I whispered, all washing over me. "The artifact is close. Let's find it quickly," Yarek urged. "We don't have much time." As we approached a pedestal at the center of the room, I felt a strange energy radiating from it. I reached out, heart pounding, when Nayla suddenly gasped. "Wait!" The inscription speaks of a choice. We must be prepared for what happens next. I nodded, determination fueling my spirit. We had come too far to turn back now. As I lifted the artifact, a surge of power coursed through me, and the reality of its purpose crashed over us like a tidal wave. This was not merely a tool of power, but a decision that could erase entire civilizations from existence. The gravity of our discovery weighed heavily upon us, and I knew that whatever happened next would change the galaxy forever. I stood at the center of the conclave chamber, the weight of the artifact heavy in my hands. Its surface shimmered with ancient energies, a pulse echoing the thoughts racing through my mind. "This is not a weapon," I declared, my voice steady despite the turmoil swirling around me. "It is a tool for peace. We must unite to ensure that its power is not misused for domination." A murmur rippled through the crowd, a mix of curiosity and skepticism. I glanced at Yarek, his brow furrowed in thought. "Zofia," he murmured, leaning closer, "are you sure about this? Some races will see it as an opportunity to strike." "Yes," I replied, eyeing the delegates, many of whom were already whispering among themselves. "But if we don't take the initiative, we'll become mere pawns in their games. We have to show them that cooperation is our only path forward." Before I could continue, a delegate from the Andari stepped forward, their luminous skin reflecting the light of the chamber. "Your intentions are noble, human, but the power of that artifact is too great for any one race to wield. We cannot trust it in the hands of the inexperienced," they countered, skepticism dripping from their words. Just then, Yarek raised his voice, drawing attention. "What if we use it to defend ourselves? We can't afford to be naive. The Vortex and their allies will not hesitate to strike if they see us as weak." Gasps echoed around the chamber, and I could feel the tension rise. "But at what cost, Yarek?" I shot back, my heart racing. "We must not become what we fear. The cycle of violence cannot continue. If we fight fire with fire, we'll only burn ourselves." Suddenly, a shadow moved in the back of the room, and the cloaked delegate stepped forward, their voice cold and commanding. "You speak of peace, yet you hold the means to annihilation," they said, pulling back their hood to reveal a face etched with the wisdom and cruelty of ages. "You humans are reckless. The galaxy is a predator's den, and those who do not seize power will be consumed." My heart sank as the implications of their words settled over the chamber. I took a deep breath, gathering my resolve for what I had to say next. "But you would sacrifice countless lives for the sake of power?" My voice rose in defiance. "We can forge a new way together." The room fell silent, eyes darting between me and the cloaked figure. I felt the weight of their stares, the uncertainty of our future pressing down on my shoulders. Just as I was about to make my final plea, the cloaked delegate raised a hand, silencing the room. "Your ideals are admirable, Zofia Kowalska, but they will lead only to your extinction. The galaxy requires strength, not compassion." In that moment, I understood the depths of the chasm between us. The stakes had never been higher, and I could feel the tides of history shifting beneath us, the fragile alliances teetering on the brink of collapse. The atmosphere in the grand chamber shifted dramatically as the cloaked delegate raised their hands, a signal for silence. My heart raced as I exchanged glances with Yarek and Nayla. We were outnumbered, and the tension was palpable. "This is it," I whispered, gripping the artifact tightly in my hand. "We need to stand our ground." "Zofia, look," Yarek said, his voice low but urgent. "They're rallying against us. We can't let them turn this conclave into a slaughter." Nayla stepped forward, her luminous skin glowing brighter as she addressed the assembly. "We are not here to impose our will. We seek unity, not division." Her voice resonated, but the murmurs of dissent quickly drowned her out. The cloaked delegate's supporters began to chant, their voices rising in a frenzied chorus against us. My pulse quickened, chaos was erupting all around us. I could see the reptilian vortex sneering from the back, pleased with the pandemonium. "Enough!" I shouted, desperation creeping into my tone. "We have the power to change this." I lifted the artifact high, its ancient symbols glowing ominously. "Zofia, don't!" Yarek yelled, reaching toward me, but the energy of the artifact pulsed through me, and I felt an overwhelming urge to activate it. "We can create a new order. A chance for peace." I pressed the artifact's core. A blinding light enveloped the chamber, illuminating the faces of delegates, some in awe, others in fear. "No!" the cloaked delegate shrieked, but it was too late. Reality itself began to shatter around us. The chamber trembled, and rifts opened, swallowing whole sections of the conclave. I watched in horror as entire races were consumed by the void, their desperate cries echoing in my ears. "What have I done?" I gasped, feeling the weight of my actions crash upon me like a tidal wave. Jarek's hand found my shoulder, but even his presence couldn't quell the dread that filled me. Nayla's luminous glow flickered as she stared at the chaos unfolding. "We wanted to bring unity," she said, her voice trembling. "But we've only sown destruction." As the galaxy plunged into darkness, I realized that in our quest for power and survival, we had sealed our own fate. No one achieved their goal, the conclave dissolved into an endless void, leaving behind only echoes of what once was. In that moment of despair, I understood the true cost of ambition.